Hi, I'm Jonah Scott. I voice Legosi in BEASTARS, and you're listening to Nerd Network News.
Welcome in, Dark Hearts. I'm Wolfie.
And Mooney.
And this is your Nerd Network News. And today we have a very special guest talking nerdy with us. Jonah, please introduce yourself and your works.
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Jonah Scott, and I'm a voice actor, I'm a Twitch streamer, I'm a musician, and stage and screen actor as well. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my goodness. With the voice acting works, can you tell us a little bit about your journey there? Something that maybe surprised you when you got into the field?
So I kind of pivoted into voice acting from doing stage work, because that's how I learned from a pretty young age. I started learning how to act at I was 8 or 9. My parents put me into this Friday after school camp, as it were, where I would go and learn how to act. And I didn't know it at the time, but the person that was teaching it, and the couple that was teaching that class every Friday, were very, very good at their jobs, and they knew to teach us from a very young age incredibly complex acting skills, Meisner technique, and variations on how to hold yourself on stage, and just really good life skills that helped you in public speaking, and then we would also do a musical every year. So that's where the acting bug kind of bit me, because I was one of the only guys in the class. There was maybe 3 or 4 male presenting people in that class, and because of that I was given larger roles, because there's only a few guys, so all the guys get a pretty major role, and I was able to have a lot of FaceTime on the stage, right? I was able to be in front of an audience. I was able to audience of 300, 400 people at the age of 9 or 10. Oh, wow. And it was all family and stuff. People would come and the family members of the cast and crew. But it was still this community that we had built. And I had done that for upwards of 10 years. I was there until I was 18. And then they said, you can't be with us anymore because you're 18 and we're a youth class, but you can come back and help teach. Ooh. So I came back and I helped teach the kids all of the techniques that that family were teaching us. And I didn't know how valuable it was at the time, because I just thought it was an after school thing. But after I went to college and started to do this semi-professionally, do stage acting semi-professionally, musicals and opera, all sorts of stuff, I realized that I did have an incredible head start on a lot of this. I was able, it was just kind of second nature to me, and not to toot my own horn or anything. This was just how my life kind of sorted out. It was a skill that I had cultivated from a very young age, when my mind was very elastic and I was able to just kind of soak everything in. And as I went on and did more of college, I studied musical theater and opera, music, singing and dancing and performing on stage. And after a certain point, you get to junior or senior year, you're like, what are you going to do with this degree, right? You're going to get a degree in musical theater, minor in vocal performance. What do you do with that? And obviously the first step is, I'm going to either do opera or I'm going to go to Broadway or try and be on Broadway. So I went 2 weeks to a Broadway intensive audition. So they had a bunch of producers there, and I didn't audition, but I watched a friend of mine who had graduated a couple of years before me go and audition. And it was watching and auditing those auditions for a week and a half in New York City that I realized that I didn't want to do that for a living. I didn't want to do stage work for a living, because of how cutthroat it was, how much time it took, because rehearsal, when you're doing it for class, is obligatory and you get something out of it. You get you get a grade, you get to be in the show, whatever. But rehearsal, when you're doing it for a living, pays your rent, and there's a little bit more at stake, right? Yeah. You skip a class and it's okay. You skip a class, you're paying for it, it's whatever. But if you miss a rehearsal, professionally, that could be your job, and you could be, not paying rent. So there was a lot of pressure there. I was good at what I did, but they could turn you away at an audition for the color of shoes you were wearing. There was no protection. There's no real union or anything like that. So it's very difficult. And I was like, okay, I went back, still a junior in college. I went back from in New York City, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this 18 years of acting that I've learned? I don't like how I look on camera. Stage work is probably not going to be what I do for professionally. So I decided to do Shakespeare for a little bit. I did Shakespeare Society. I did, Equity Waiver Theater. I did Cincinnati stuff because that's where I'm from, Cincinnati, Ohio. I live in LA. But as I was junior, senior in college, I tried voice acting out online because I also, in addition to being a stage actor, I was on my college's League of Legends team. And I was an AD carry main. I did off top, off mid. I never jungled just because it was too much responsibility. But I did really heavy into League of Legends. Whenever I wasn't at rehearsal, I was playing video games. And I would be on comms in TeamSpeak back in the day, or Discord, and I would mock the heroes that I was playing. I would mock the champions, like, with my voice. And all those heroes have, like, ult lines that they say before they use their ultimate ability. You press R, and then they say this line out, and that's how everybody in the game knows, oh my god, Ezreal just shot his thing across the map, so be careful, listen for it, right? And I would trick my teammates into thinking that actually happened because I would do an impression of Ezreal, and they'd be like, dude, you should try and do this for a living. You sound like a voice actor. You sound like the guy in the game. And I'm just like, wait a second. Somebody got paid to do that. That wasn't just the janitor that they pulled off the street or whatever. That's Ezreal. That's Kyle Bear and a bunch of other, like, anime voice actors. And then I realized, oh my god, anime is another thing that I could do. So I did online auditions for things. I would use a Rock Band USB microphone that I would hang in my dorm, right? Like this, because I didn't have a real microphone like this or anything to game with. I had a headset, right? But I wasn't going to record with that. So I had this SM57, USB Rock Band microphone that I recorded and auditioned for a Attack on Titan radio play. And this was like 11 years ago, I think, at this point, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I did an Attack on Titan radio play, and I'm just like, this is going nowhere. This sounds like ass, right? This sounds bad. And lo and behold, they got back to me, and they're like, hey, we want to cast you as, this character in the Attack on Titan radio play. And I'm just like, oh my god, I'm in. This doesn't pay anything. It's a fan project. It's whatever. But I'm able to I'm able to try and flex this muscle. I'm able to stretch it out and see what I can do with it. So I did that. I made a lot of really good friends in that community. Some of my best friends in college were all online. And we access each other through Skype and TeamSpeak and Discord, and we just had a great time writing and creating, and it was a community that I'd never known existed. And then I watched the dub of the first season of One Punch Man, senior year of college. I sat down in my dorm room with my buddy who's also a weeb, and I was like, I could do that. That doesn't seem that difficult. It is hard. There's a lot of, like, challenges and stuff in the way, but, like, as an actor that had been doing this for over a decade, I'm just like, oh, these skills are transitive. These skills can go pretty much anywhere that I want to go. Public speaking, I could have been a politician. I didn't want to. I hate politics, but they're transitive skills, and I was able to actualize that. So after I got out of college, I was doing more online voice work, and I made more doing online voice work than I did working at the family-owned deli that I would make sandwiches at. Got real good at making sandwiches, though. Very good at making sandwiches. I'm making mean club, but I was making more money doing online voice work than I was working at the family deli. Nice. And I told my dad, I'm like, hey, Dad, I think there's something to this. I think there's something to being a voice actor that I should try. And I had made a couple of friends who already lived and moved out from Arkansas and podunk, middle of nowhere places over to LA to try their shot at doing it as well. And one of those people is a very good friend of mine, Jalen Cassell, a fantastic director, an incredible actor. He voices Okiyasu in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, among other things. He's a savant. He's very, very good and incredible writer. But I slept on his floor. When I moved out to Los Angeles for the first time, my dad said, go ahead. You can take the graduation money that you got, which wasn't a whole lot. It was like about 10 grand or something like that I just sat on, and illegally slept on Jalen's floor because I wasn't on the lease. Paid him like $600 every month to be like, hey, can I sleep on your floor? And as we did this, he taught me how to dub because Jalen was writing scripts, and I was able to take the scripts that he was writing, and I would wake up in the morning and he would be writing the script for not a very well-made show, but Berserk 2016, right? The old 3D CG Berserk, right? It was amazing. And from there, I learned how to dub. From there, I took some classes, and then, the rest is what you see now. From those classes, I met directors, and those directors said, hey, it seems like you know what you're doing. You want to try your shot at some stuff? And it was never anything that was like given to me or anything like that. It was everything that I auditioned for, but that's where I came from. I'm just a kid from Cincinnati, and I managed to actualize a voice acting career out of all those skills. It was a very long answer to a short question. I'm so sorry, Val, but that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, that is so awesome. All right, rapid fire round. Starting off, so we know you have such a body of work. Which two of the characters you voiced or acted do you think would have the most interesting conversation?
There was a little sketch that we did a while back of, there's a game I voiced the lead in, Dying Light 2. It is a zombie survival action parkour RPG. Like it's really cool. It's a lot of letters, but it's fantastic. If you haven't played it, Dying Light is great, and then Dying Light 2 is just a further iteration on that. So Aiden is this like lone wolf kind of character who, he's a standard first person action RPG protagonist for all intents and purposes. But I was able to like kind of mold him and make him a little bit more of me. Right? And the same thing with Legosi. And a while ago, we did a skit where Legosi and Aiden were talking to each other, and Aiden has a crossbow that he uses as like a ranged combat weapon. And he gives the crossbow to Legosi, and Legosi's like, and Aiden's like, do you know how to fire that thing? And Legosi's like, I have no idea what any of this stuff does. I don't really get it. So I feel like they would have an incredibly interesting conversation. It wouldn't be very like productive, but I feel like I would love to listen to those two people talk together. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
If you don't mind me.
Yeah.
Piping in.
Come on, Mooney.
Once I gotta get over here for the mic.
Sure.
I love Dying Light 2.
Thanks, man.
Loved your performance as Aiden.
Thank you.
Excellent voice work in there.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I do too. It was from toe to tip. I worked on that game for 6 years. I did the scratch voices, and as a avid game player, during the scratch voice stuff, I was like, hey, can I like actually voice the character in the game? Is that something that can happen? And they were just like, yeah, we'll think about it. So we just did an audition process and everything. But yeah, the big chunk of my life, that game was great.
Heck yes.
Good question too. Thank you.
Oh, of course. I always think it's fun because, your characters end up having such a range of personalities.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Then, of course, the big nerdy question. What are your biggest nerdy hobbies and passions?
Oh my gosh. Last night, I kid you not, we had to get off the con floor, me and Hayden, Alejandro Saab's partner. We had to get off the con floor quick because we had a D&D. I'm the DM for our Friday night D&D campaign. Me, Ben Balmaceda, another great voice actor, really good friend of mine. Hayden, who is also a VTuber, really good friend of mine. And then two other VTubers, Juzo Mori, just Juzo at this point, and then Leju Shen. We have, and Grizz, Nate from, what is it? Just Roll With It, Riptide, another D&D campaign. But we all get together on Friday nights and do D&D when we can. And when we're all at a con together, we all get together and do it together. And we stream it too on Twitch.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's a perfect lead-in too. So where can your fans find you? Socials, websites, etc.?
Thank you so much for that question. Very good question. I'm all over. You can for the broad swath, just Google Jonah Scott, and I'm sure you'll find a bunch of links. But you can find me I'm on TikTok as I'm Mr. Transistor. For my face, my Jonah Scott persona, but with my VTuber, I'm on TikTok as Alpha Aniki, ALPHA ANIKI. And on Twitch, you can find me as my VTuber, Alpha Aniki, twitch.tv/Alpha Aniki, ALPHA ANIKI.
Awesome. All right, any upcoming projects for your fans?
Speaking of my VTuber, yeah, we're currently, we wrote and we have the thumbnails ready and are waiting active production on a graphic novel based on my VTuber. We've been working on that for about a year and a half. We've done a little bit of crowdfunding, nothing on Kickstarter or anything, just like, hey, if you like it, donate, put it in the tip jar, whatever. And we funded it enough to make that actually happen. So we're working on that. It's gonna look phenomenal. And We also have a bunch of music, so go look us up on Spotify. My VTuber's a rock star, and he has music to match. Got 10 original songs on an album out on Spotify. Just look up Alpha Aniki on Spotify.
That is so awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today,
Thank you so much, Val.
Jonah.
You're wonderful. You're a treat.
Thank you.